All right, so today we're starting out code.org, Unit 3, Lesson 5, Level 1. As you can see, I did some of these with the other class, so some of those are already done. Okay, so I'll have to start over on the lessons as we get to them. Okay, in this lesson, it should be pretty simple. Like I said, the other class, we had plenty of time at the end, and the final assignment is quite simple. Okay. So this lesson introduces variables as a way to label a number in a program or save a randomly generated value. We're going to begin with a very basic description of the purpose of a variable and practice using the new blocks. Afterwards, the class will use a variable to save a random number, allowing the program to use the same random number multiple times. Okay, so a variable is a placeholder for a piece of information that can change. And what we're going to do is we are going to declare and assign a value to a variable and declare a variable all by itself. Okay, so we're not going to watch this because I'm going to go through this with you here in a little bit. So we're going to practice this. I'm actually just going to jump to level 7 here and kind of go over this, and then we'll skip this one later. So if you want to go to lesson 5, level 7, so that you can follow along, you can. Otherwise, you can just look up at the board. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable. And what a variable is we initialize it or start it out by just saying var, var, and we declare it by giving our variable a name. So we assign it a name. What do we want to store in that variable? It's pretty much like a box. Okay, think of it as a box, and we put on the front of the box what's going to go in it. Okay, and then so let's say our box, instead of it saying size, let's say that it's marbles. Okay, then we write on the front of the box that marbles is equal to 100. Okay, meaning that there's going to be 100 marbles inside that box. We've set that variable or that box equal to 100 marbles, and that's what's going to be in there. Okay, we've assigned that value. Now, if I go on the front of that box and I scribble out 100 and I put 90, okay, I need to take out 10 marbles and I need to reassign it. Okay, so if I take 10 out, I'm going to say marbles is equal to 90. Okay, it's pretty much just assigning a value to whatever the variable name is. So in this case, it's size. So we can use that size to, instead of putting in separate values for this ellipse one here, this light blue ellipse one, instead of setting the X and Y coordinate and then setting the size, if we want it to be a perfect circle, the size stays the same for both of these, and we would put in that value of 100 because that's what we assigned the variable of size to equal. Okay. And then so like up here, we got this var size, and then we've got size gets 100. So instead of doing that in two separate blocks, we can do it all at once and say var size equals 100 or var size gets 100. In coding, a lot of times you'll hear me say the word gets instead of equals, simply because it can be reassigned. Okay. In the example right down here, we can do var size equals 100 and then size equals 110. Well, size can't equal 100 and 110 at the same time. And so it's always what's last. So if I say score is 1, score is 5, score is 7, score is 11, what's the score at the end? 11, right? Because that's the last one that I assigned it to. And it can be random too. After that, I could go back to 1, and then score would be equal to 1. Okay? So it's whichever one is last. So let's go to lesson 3. Okay, and this is the first one that we're going to do. So what we want to do is, so we're lesson 5, level 3, using variables. In this program, the variable x position is used to store the x coordinate of the circle. Run the program to see how it works. So if we take a look here and we press run, okay, our variable is assigned and it's titled x position, and it gets the value of 50. Okay, then we take that variable x position and we put it in for the x position on the ellipse. Okay, right there. And so that x position is set to 50. So if I go here, the x position is set to 50, right? Okay. If we wanted to change that number and we wanted to change it up here where the variable is, okay, we can do that by changing it right here. What the heck? Okay, and I could change it to 100. Okay, if I change it to 100 and I press run, it changes that X position of that ellipse without me having to go in and manually do it. Okay, it makes it a quicker change, especially if you're using the variable in multiple places. Okay, I'm going to press finish. So for this one, okay, we're going to have to type in this text box before we can press run. So it says in which corner, and I've already got mine in, it won't go away, I guess. Even if I press start over, maybe. Yep, it won't go away. So it says in which corner of the screen will a circle be drawn? Hint, click the show grid box to help you find the exact coordinates on the screen. Okay, it says top right in there, and that's the correct answer, but let's kind of decipher that a little bit. Okay, we've got this variable x position, titled x position, and it gets the value of 300. Okay, so if I start up in the top left like I'm supposed to, and I go to my x so that it's equal to 300, I go right here. Then it says variable that's titled what's the y, and it gets the value of 100. So I've gone to 300, then I go to 100 on the y, and my center of my circle is going to go right here, because if I look at my ellipse on line 4, the x position is set to the x position here, which is getting 300, same as the y here, that's getting that value of 100. Okay, so I press run, I see that it shows up there, and we're done. Okay, so you have to type in top right in the box, in that text box, and then press finish. Okay. Real quick here. Chris and Addie. Am I missing anybody else? Is Kimberly here? Or wait, hold on. Olivia, Hope, Kimberly, Nate, Nathan. Anybody else? Okay. All right. So we press finish there, and we're good to go. Okay. Lesson 5, level 5. Okay. This one, we've got a circle that's being drawn. Okay, and we want it to fill the entire screen. So it says this program uses the variable circle size to control the width and the height of the circle. So if you notice, it's being used twice down here on line 4. Okay, if you make the circle big enough, it will fill up the entire screen as in the picture on the right. Change the value assigned to circle size so that the circle takes up the entire screen. So instead of having to change it here and here, I can just change it up here, and it will make it work. So I can just type in, let's try like 600. Okay, and then I press reset and run, and it fills the whole screen. Okay, and that's all we're doing. So that one's just showing you that changing it once changes that variable for both of these. Okay, so you can press finish there. Now this one is going to change it in multiple places. Instead of just once, it's going to change it actually, I think, 8 times. Okay, this program only has one variable called petal size. Okay, but it uses it 8 different times. This makes it easy to quickly make lots of changes to how your picture is drawn. So it says change the number assigned to petal size so that the red petals touch one another. Okay, so we've got petal size being used in every single one of these spots down here on the bottom, but all we have to do is change it once here, and it'll change it every time. So if we press run, it wants these red petals around this black circle to change, because it wants this to look like a flower. It wants them to touch. So I'm going to press reset here, and I'm going to change my petal size to something like 75. Okay, and then I'm going to press run, and now it changed the width and height of all of those to 75 without me having to go through and manually. See how tedious that would have been if I would have had to go through and put 75 for each one of those? Or what happens if the first time I put in 60 and that wasn't enough, and then I go to 70 and that's not enough, and then I finally get to 75 and that looks good? Okay, if I am indecisive and have to change it a bunch of times, every single time I'd have had to change all 8 spots. So that's where variables become very convenient. Okay, so we can go ahead and press finish there. And then we're going to continue right through this next one, because I'd already talked about this about creating variables. So we're going to press continue. And then this is the last level that we're going to do before your assignment. So this is lesson 5, level 8. And this one's talking about naming variables. So this gets really, really important. So this is probably the most important lesson from this variables lesson that we're doing, simply because variable names get really, really confusing. And if you don't name them right, then it becomes a problem. Okay, so this program has multiple errors because someone did bad label names. Okay, the errors prevent the program from being viewed in block mode, so the code is in text. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and figure out what problems the variable names are causing the errors. So these variable names are not good. Okay, these ones here, because you've got these red boxes. Okay, it says correct the errors by picking new names. If your program works, it should draw the image on the right over here. Okay, and we can click on this arrow to see a few rules. So if we click on these details here and scroll down, okay, it says labels can't have spaces, labels can't start with a number, and capitalization and spelling must be the exact same. Okay, so for line 1, what do we think the problem is? The spacing, correct. Okay, now I'm going to do something with this variable name that's called camel casing, and I really like it because it helps me a lot to be able to read a variable name, especially if it's really long. So what it is I'm going to leave the entire first word of the variable name lowercase. So in this case, it's size. Then next, I'm not going to have any spaces, but the next word is going to start with a capital letter, and the rest of the letters in that word are going to be lowercase. So I have size in all lowercase, and then of with a capital O and a lowercase f. And then for circle, I'm going to just capitalize the C in circle and leave the rest lowercase. What that's called, it's called camel casing. And if you look through it, okay, it might look weird, but it's actually really easy to read the variable name because I'm assuming that the first word in that variable name is lowercase. Then I know to go to the next capital letter, and that's the start of the next word. Okay, without any spaces and with proper capitalization, all sorts of stuff like that. Okay, now there's still this yellow triangle because I'm going to copy this variable name. I'm going to select it and press Control C. And then down below here on line 6 where it's being used twice actually. I need to Control V over the top of those so that it's using the correct variable name. Because it had the wrong variable name up here. And then, yeah, just Control C, Control V it. So copy it, Control C, and then go down here and highlight over it and press Control V. Okay, to make sure that it's the correct capital or the correct spelling. Okay. Then on line 2, and that yellow triangle will go away later on as soon as we fix the other ones. Okay, it just doesn't realize that it's being called down here yet. Okay, line 2, what's wrong? The 1, right? Yep, I can't have this number in front of my variables. That's not okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that number 1 and type in the word 1, and then I'm going to camel case it and type a D for the capitalization of the word dimension. So I'm doing a lowercase and spelled out 1, and then I capitalize the D in dimension, and then I'm copying and pasting it down to line 6. Okay, and then our very last problem is our line 3. Why is that one not working? It's giving me a yellow triangle, not a red square. If you hover over it, it says Y location is defined, but it's not called in your program. Why is that? Where is it? What's going on? What's wrong? It's either supposed to be uppercase, or I can go down here and change it to lowercase. And I'm going to change it to lowercase so that we keep that camel casing going on, where the first thing is lowercase and then the rest of it's uppercased. So I'm going to change that to Y location down here on line 6 instead of changing to uppercase on line 3. So now this is what I should have, and since everything's fixed, I can click this this button over here on the right side that says show blocks, and then I'll change this all back to block code because everything's fixed. And then I can press run. I see that this is the correct thing, and now I'm good to go. Okay. If you don't get all that stuff, look on your neighbor's screen or help your neighbor out, ask help from your neighbor, or you can come up here and ask me if you didn't get all of those if something's not working, okay? But real quick here, I'm going to tell everybody what their assignment is. So this is lesson 5, level 9. Okay. And what we've got is we've got variables and random numbers. Variables can be assigned to a random number too. So it doesn't have to be assigned a value. This one is a random I size between, this variable I size is being assigned a random number between 10 and 60. Okay. Excuse me. This lets you save a single random value so that you can use it many times, as many times as you want in your program. Okay, it says do this. I size is assigned a random number. Unfortunately, only one of the I's is currently using it. Run the program to see how it works, and then change the program so that both the I's run the same random size. Hint, you'll only need to make changes to one line of code. So if I press run here, okay, it looks like my left eye of my smiley face is picking a random number between 10 and 60. Okay, and I want both of them to do that every time. Okay, so the random number is only generating one random number every time that I run it, and then it's assigning that value down here on line 12. Well, in order to get the other eye to do that, I need to change line 13. Okay, so a hint there for you is that line 13 is the line that you're going to change. As soon as you get that done, okay, you're going to go to Google Classroom, go to code.org, Unit 3, Lesson 5. Okay, these instructions here that are up in the top with the screenshot of this smiley face changing is attached to that Dropbox. It's called Smiley Face on Drugs Instructions. Okay. Because our smiley face looks like he's on meth. Thank goodness he lives in South Dakota because we're on it. Okay. And what we're going to do is you're going to submit that. Make sure that, like I said before, I didn't say this on the video, but make sure that you are, when you're taking your snipping tool, your screenshot, that you take a screenshot of this top circle space or this top space here showing that you've got all your lessons done. Okay. Make sure that you get all of your code in there, and then make sure that you get your login information over here on the top right. Otherwise, I won't be able to see that you're the one that's logged in. Okay, those three things, the bubbles up in the top middle, your login information, and your code. Okay, so as soon as you get that done, go ahead and press finish and then turn it in. And that is, like I said, that is code.org Discoveries Unit 3, Lesson 5. That is variables.